How is everybody doing? And welcome back for another Strength Chat episode. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest for you all. Today, I'm joined by nutrition coach and creator of 4 Weeks to the Beach. Today, I am joined by the one and only Aram Grigorian. How are you doing?
You're in the future, my friend. How's the future doing? You tell me. And I'm not that special. Don't get your audience all fired up to have this revelation of information coming at them because I'm going to bore them to death, I promise you.
Everyone going to have to strap in now. But yeah, I suppose the first question. I know obviously we had a good chat before we started recording, but how are you? What's kind of been happening in your world recently?
I started a mentorship for coaches back in May after the event that I host. So I host an event for coaches every year called the Real Coaches Summit.
Mm.
It's a 2.5 day continuing education event meant to help people with network within the industry as well as whatever education that they might be lacking in addition to their original certifications. And I basically just pluck people that I think are good at what they do in various independent subject matters that they're experts at, whether it be like, somebody who's an expert at PMOS or hormone dysfunction or gut health or hypertrophy training, whatever the topic du jour is. I try to find those individuals who I personally learn from, and those are the people that I put on stage. I just find that there's a pretty big deficit of continuing education in our industry, and unfortunately, the people that sell the continuing education have such a high incentive to sell what they want to sell versus really platform a variety of credibility. So I have no financial incentive. If anything, I lose money on the event every year, and I did that this past year. But I want to be able to arm people with not only the education that they're missing, but also because most of us are online now, like it's a very isolating career, and like
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't see outside of your four walls. So by having this place to meet up every year, it's you get to see some old faces that you know, and then meet some new ones, and you just feel more connected. Like I just get for me, it's like I'm hanging out with my two dogs all day, and I'm in my gym shorts, and I'm staring at a computer screen, or I'm texting clients or calling clients, and I don't get to really see what the rest of the industry is doing unless I go on social media, which we know is not always the best place to be. So that was really it. Then I started the mentorship. I took on 10 people there just to get them. My promise was like, we're not going to get you to like 15, 20, 30K a month. I don't make fucking ridiculous promises like that. But I'm going to make you more stable in your business. I'm going to make you more confident in your messaging and your subject matter so that way you can attract the right type of people to come into your ecosystem. And I'm going to teach you from all the mistakes that I learned along the way because I've been in this industry for 17 years and I've done it the hard way the entire time. And I just don't want to see people struggle the way that I had to struggle to get here. And I figured once you get to a certain level, like you want to pass that wisdom on. It's a low cost mentorship. I only charge $198 a month, and it's only a 12-week curriculum. And then people have an opportunity to stay after that for $118 a month, which is way cheaper than what some of these fucking business coaches are charging that are $30,000 for 6 months with, now they're telling people to cold DM people to get clients. And it's like, this is what you're paying 30 grand for.
Yeah.
Um, I have a lot of gripes with this industry, Steven. So that's you'll see that I'm very much anti-influencer. I'm anti doing things without integrity, and I want to make sure that the industry is left better than when I found it, when I'm out of it. And I don't think I'll ever be out of it. The only way that's going to get me out of this industry is when I die.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because and I'm a big fan of a tangent, just kind of touching on that in terms of influencers and those sorts of things. And it's kind of on topic, but like I say, maybe a different rabbit hole to go down. Um my partner works at an international school, and kids now they had like a careers day. Obviously, when she comes home, I'm always like, "Oh, how's your day been? What's going on?" "Oh, we had a careers day." And I remember when I was growing up, I wanted to be a professional rugby player. Like I started off playing rugby, I was like, "Yeah, I want to do this." People wanted to be. One of my really good friends actually wanted to. Be like a rock star. Like he'd always been into
No,
music, used to play like music around like the local bars where I'm originally from.
those are
And
big
then
dreams.
Yeah, and then you obviously go into you find something that you want to do. I always say I kind of like fell into personal training and coaching. I basically came back from playing rugby, living in Australia because I ran out of money, and a guy was opening the gym, and I started off doing boot camps, and then you kind of just like fall in love with it, and kind of follow that passion a little bit. Anyway, the kids at the school were like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And they were like, I want to be an influencer. And it's like, what, how is that a job title? How is that? And I was like, really? Because obviously, like, especially now, if you spoke to my nephew, he wants to be a footballer. He's only 6, coming up 7. Whereas the kids here were like just about to leave school, maybe the year below or something like that. And it was, yeah, to be an influencer. And I'm just kind of like, I know, social media plays its part and those sorts of things, but for a long time there wasn't social media. Do you know? It was a case of, I remember speaking to somebody. It was like I had to go and knock on my friend's door to see if they would want to come out and
Yep.
play, as opposed
Yeah.
to, yeah, just like. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest like gamer in the world, but yeah, playing online with friends. But like what you were saying before about creating that event and speaking to coaches, colleagues in person, like you feed off that. It's the same as like, when I've been training with people competing in powerlifting, going and training with people, that's how you learn and build connections. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that within the fitness industry you think, is that right? And that's why kind of, keeping with the podcast, having it as a strength chat, speaking to people such as yourself to be like, look, there's more conversations, other things that we can talk about as opposed to just trying to um, I don't know. Yeah, just trying to hope that you get more followers or anything like that. So yeah, a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, I find that interesting what you said
No,
about influencers.
I agree with you. And I think there's nothing wrong with being influential. I think everybody has some aspiration to have influence over others. If we have something of value to teach and we have something of value to deliver to an audience or to a community or to an individual, then absolutely you should be influential because if you have something worthy to say and you're selling the right message, then yeah, I'm all for it. I think we can be very helpful. Our industry can change lives. And I take that job seriously. Like we are the front line of healthcare. We can help people improve their health, both mental and physical, meaningfully. But there has to be integrity involved, and we have to stay within our scope of practice, and we have to understand what we are and what we're not responsible for. And we have to make that very clear to our audience, as opposed to using this as a way to line our pockets and pedestal ourselves, as opposed to serving the greater good, which is our audience and it is our clientele base. And I think that somewhere along the way, it got very muddy and it got very discombobulated and it turned into this animal that was essentially just taking off on its own. And now a lot of people can make a lot of money very quickly and they do it without integrity and they do it in a way that's essentially misrepresenting what they're selling and who they are. And because it's an attractive offer, people buy it. And unfortunately, when it comes to fat loss and it comes to physique change, people are desperate. I work with women who are over 40 who have been sold bullshit for decades of what doesn't work and what this is the only way to do it. And it's this diet and it's this pill and it's this supplement. When you and I both know it's just the boring basic shit that people don't want to do on repeat over and over and over and over again until it stops being boring and it just becomes a part of your life and you accept it and you stop fighting it tooth and nail and you don't expect much out of it, but it starts to feed your quality of life every day. And that's not a sexy message to sell. That's not going to get you 300 fucking thousand followers. It's going to get you either the people that believe in it who are going to follow you to the end of the earth, or it's going to make you very much ignored. And most people will ignore what I have to say, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you said there, people are desperate and looking, a lot of people are just looking for a solution, but sometimes, and I'm sure you've had this, you end up speaking to people and they're like, oh yeah, I've tried this, and this. And it's because people are creating these, yeah, do this in this and do this in this. Whereas actually, yes, people have certain length programs, but then it's trying to instill the habits so that they can continue it afterwards as well. I know we've already kind of like dove in a little bit, but one thing that I wanted to ask as well for everyone listening who might not know your background in coaching, how you got to the point where you're at now. And obviously you've mentioned 17 years, doing the basics like what you've said, but just want to give a little bit of a background to yourself, Aram.
Yeah, I started off in finance. So I graduated college in 2006 and I worked at a company. We were a commodity trading firm. So we traded oil, gas, and power, natural resources. And I was in the support staff. So I worked in the back office. And I was 20 at the exit time. I think I was 28 years old and I was making six figures and making 30, $40,000 bonuses. And I was a kid. I mean, I was a poor kid from Russia making six figures in my early 20s, which is the equivalent to me of being a kid from the ghetto and getting his first $3 million paycheck from AC Milan. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I spent all of that money quickly. I put most of it up my nose. I was flying down to Miami every weekend and going to strip clubs. Like I was doing all the wrong things because I had no guidance. I had no mentor. I had no idea of how to manage money. And I thought this was going to be it. That like this is the dream forever. And then I got laid off in 2012. And I just realized at that point I didn't want to do that job anymore. The market was saturated. The pay was coming down. More and more people were out of work because the industry was starting to become commoditized and smaller. And I just bought a National Academy of Sports Medicine book, a NASM book, and I sat at a coffee shop in New Jersey and I just studied and I passed the NASM test to become a personal trainer. I got a job at a big gym, and that was my first job as a personal trainer. And it was a very boutique gym, very expensive, like 300 bucks a month for a membership. PT there was starting at 135 an hour. So it was not a cheap place. And it was very cutthroat. Like everybody's numbers were on the wall and it was always the same top three trainers at the top. And it was based off of hours trained. And that's how you got paid. It was based on a merit system. And that was it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to roll towels for $8 an hour and wear my little blue shirt with my name tag. I want to be a trainer. I want to be at the top of this list. And I just started walking around the gym floor and fixing people's form and having conversations with them and trying to figure out what they knew and what they didn't know. And just being available. Like I had the business brain because I had worked with adults, like a lot of trainers are just kids who have nice bodies. That's kind of what happens. It's like, oh, I played sports and then I became a trainer and I have this physique and people just kind of trust me. I have no formal education. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. People believe me because I look the part. And that's essentially how a lot of people get into training. And it's unfortunate because this is a very highly skilled skill set and it can be very impactful and meaningful in people's lives, but some people just don't take it seriously. It's a job for them. Like to me, it's a career. It's my life. I looked at it as a job back then. I didn't look at it as a career back then. I was too young. I was too stupid. I didn't know what I didn't know. Fast forward to 2020, right around COVID, I was in a horrible relationship. COVID hit, all the gyms shut down. I had access to a private facility, so I was still training people in person. I was doing well. I mean, I was probably making 2,500 a week at that point, all cash, doing fucking 10 sessions a day, working like a dog 7 days a week, no breaks, because I had the time and people wanted to work out. So I'm like, let's go. I'll take your money. And then the relationship dissolved, and I was like one of the last single guys left. I'm in my late 30s. All my friends are married. All of them have kids. Everybody's locked down. I'm like, I don't want to live here anymore. So I moved from the East Coast of the United States to California, where I always wanted to live, and had to start all over again at 38 years old. And just built up an online presence. I started posting valuable content instead of bullshit thirst trap content, which is what my Instagram page was years ago. I can't even go back that far. If I did, I'd be embarrassed of what I was posting back then because it was disgusting and it was horrible. But that's what, that was social media back then. I didn't realize you can use it as an educational platform. I didn't realize that you can put out good messages on it. I thought it was just pictures of yourself at the gym, and that's what I was posting. But then my content started to get shared. I started doing a lot of collaborations with a lot of the coaches. I was doing a lot of Instagram lives. I was trying to get on a lot of people's podcasts. I was offering people to get on my podcast, which wasn't even a thing at the time. And I just started learning from some of the best minds in the industry. I'm like, wow, this is a really exciting field and I want to really be good at it. And then I got really good at it. And then I started to slowly take on as many people as I could and, went from charging $100 a month to now, I mean, my prices aren't really that much different. I'm still a pretty low cost coach in comparison to a lot of other people, but I'm not solving expensive problems. I mean, most of the people that I work with are lacking the basics. They're lacking consistency. They're lacking accountability. They don't understand how to train properly. They don't understand how to have a reasonable, flexible relationship with food. They don't know how to do this stuff on their own. And once they can start to get some direction and some clarity, they can put all the pieces of the puzzle together themselves. And then eventually they can go off on their own. And that's basically what I built. And then I decided that I wanted to take on another project, which was the Real Coaches Summit in 2023, because I had gone to conferences from like 2019 to 2023, and they were all just so bad. They were so sales pitch heavy.
Mm.
Everything was about making more money and having a bigger audience and being more influential. And I was just like, where's the skill set? How do we become better at this job? How do we solve fat loss problems better? How do we solve injury problems better? How do we solve psychology problems better? Like, where are the skill sets? There's none of this being presented. So I started my own party, and that was 23. And that's it, man. I'm just fucking slow and steady. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, it's a drop. Sometimes it's an up, then it's another drop, then it's another spike. And right now, I'm on an upward trend and it feels good, but I'm sure at some point there's going to be a bottom again because that's how
Yeah,
life
I
works.
suppose that yeah, that's life. There's gonna be up and downs. I always say, I think I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago on the same topic, ups and downs, and I always say, yeah, there's ups and downs, and then one day you wake up and you're living in Thailand. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it can I think the not to be too kind of like woo woo if you like, but yeah, I think the universe is a weird way of throwing things out from there, and actually it's worked out. It worked out quite well. I mean, don't get me wrong. The last role that I had in the UK, the job title was head of personal training. So I was helping coaches develop, which was awesome. But I've kind of come full circle, if you like, and I'm PTing. I'm doing classes. I'm probably doing more PT and more classes than I've done in the last, I would probably say five years. But honestly, like I've still always coached in person. So even when I
Yep,
when I in my last role, I've always said I want to have some time on the gym floor, mainly because as well, in my last role, if you're my last role was helping train and coach develop other trainers and coaches. You still need to kind of like keep your tools sharp on the gym floor. Whereas actually coming
absolutely.
back now, actually having a full week of clients, a full day of clients. Also, then doing classes, which I've probably haven't done for even longer. It's kind of like, oh yeah, this is what I can try and help them with, and actually see rather than obviously seeing other trainers trying to filter down to that. I'm getting kind of like the buzz of the progress from their clients from them. Um, but one thing that you said, obviously, slow and steady, but then obviously you've said there, you were trying to learn, you were trying to progress, and help fix people's problems, whether it be with food, training, and get doing the basics better, if you like. Had that always been your philosophy? Because obviously you mentioned there, like earlier on, the earlier stuff you were maybe sharing on social media, whereas now, I see the content that you share, educational, trying to help provide solutions. Um, has that always been kind of like your mindset where you wanted to go? Did that change the more you kind of got settled, or from influences from other coaches that you've worked with, to try and help people change their habits and mindset around fat loss and exercise, if that kind of makes sense?
I have a relatively cerebral way of doing things. Like I like to think, I like process, I like to understand the why and the how. I don't necessarily care about result. Like I'm not a competitive person. I'm a shit athlete. I was a shit power lifter. I have a nice physique now, but that's 27 years of experience. It's just
Yeah.
it happened by accident. You just do something long enough and it starts to chisel away. And that's what I wish people had just understood that. It's like you just stick to it long enough You will eventually arrive at the body composition you want to see. It's just trial and error. And it was a lot of error and a lot of trial. But when it comes to like fitness and nutrition to me are very simple. And the physiology of the human body, while it is very complex, the mechanisms that we can control as individuals are also very simple. I always wanted to understand the complexity of it so that I can filter it down and make it as simple and easy to understand for the layperson as possible. So I want to understand things at their deepest level so I know how they work. But then when I explain it to my grandmother or your mom, they don't have to understand the depths of the physiology. They can just get the very filtered down version, but that's going to be the practical and doable version. That's what I want. So I was just always, I saw the side of the industry I didn't like, and that very quickly pushed me into the direction of seeing the people that I now am connected with who taught me the things that I know. So it was easy to see the garbage because I already had some idea of what was quote unquote good and bad. And I just immediately stayed away from everybody I didn't like and who I thought was doing it the wrong way, which then led me to see the people that were doing it the right way. And I just leaned in as hard as I could. And I just was just a magnet for information. I would pay people for consult calls. I would ask all the people who I thought were really, really smart, hey, can I jump on a Zoom call with you and ask you these questions? Whatever it costs, I'll pay you. I mean, I maxed out 3 to 4 credit cards between 2018 and 2022 just to learn whatever I could. So anybody that anytime like because I get a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't afford to come to the Real Coach or something. I'm like, I just saw you buy fucking tickets to EDC and it cost you, I know it cost you $1,200
Yeah.
to go to a 3-day music festival, and then you have new shoes and you're out to dinner every other week, but then you're telling me you don't have time or money for continuing education, then don't call yourself a personal trainer. Don't call yourself a fitness professional. You're not a professional. You're an enthusiast that's taking money temporarily, and eventually you're going to be a fucking bank teller. So why don't you just save us all the trouble now and go be a bank teller now and stop wasting your clients' time? And I fundamentally just cannot stand people that tell it's like when clients tell you they don't have money,
Yeah.
right? Like you know they have money. They're spending it elsewhere, and you are a byproduct of where you spend your time and your money. So don't tell me you don't have money. Tell me it's just not that valuable to you. I will believe that. I'm fine with that answer. Just
Yeah.
don't lie to me, and don't, more importantly, don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, there's a lot of good people in this industry. There's it's and doing these Zoom calls and being able to get on podcasts and talking to people all around the world. Like there are so many good people here, but we all know each other, right? Like the bad people kind of hang out with the bad people, the good people hang out with the good people. I don't like that there's a divide, but there's a fundamental difference in the way we do things, and that's why there is a divide. And there's always going to be a divide because the influencers are going to influence and try to make fast money. And then the professionals are going to try to keep getting better at their craft because they don't ever think they're good enough. That's who we are. Like for as much as I know and for as good as I am, there's people that are better than me, and I want to find who those people are and who they learn from so I could be even better than that. And I'm 42 years old, but there's still so much to learn and so much to understand that I'll never stop trying to get better and try to learn. And I see people that are like, yeah, I don't have to go to conferences. I don't have to go to seminars. It's like, oh, you know everything already? That's it. You know everything there is to know about the human body, about the human mind, about how all this stuff, you've figured it all out already. So you have the solution. Why is it that you're still bitching about not making enough money?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you had all the secrets, you'd be a trillionaire at this point, but you're not, and you're still struggling. And nobody pays attention to what you have to say because you don't want to further yourself. And it's to me, it's just lazy. And think about it this way, like our audience and our clients see the way that we live our lives and the way that we approach our craft. If we don't approach it with passion and curiosity, why the fuck would they want to hire us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like why would they want to pay us any amount of money when they can go down the street and get somebody cheaper who doesn't care
Yeah.
and can do the same job for less?
Yeah, the key word that you said there was for me was like curiosity. Be curious, and you'll probably find out throughout this chat. I love an analogy, and I'm a big fan of like film and TV. And the thing, anytime anyone says that, I always show them the clip of. Have you ever watched Ted Lasso?
I haven't yet.
No.
I keep watching clips and seeing I want
Yeah,
to.
but
I
there's
just
a
don't have
clip.
Apple TV.
Yeah, there's a clip in there, and basically people have like underestimated him, or and he just goes, be curious, like ask the question, find out a little bit more. Then all of a sudden, and like I say, you know, a lot of what I've learned, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, going to university, doing courses, going to, you know, seminars in the UK, you know, actually traveling, rather than, you know, being on having everything online. You know, that's how you learn, and I think being curious is a good way of doing that. One thing that I mean, you know, being a coach and a PT in the UK for what 11, 12 years, you know, built up a network mainly in the north of England, you know, probably, you know, a little bit further as well, but then coming over, there's an Italian coach. I've learned quite a lot from the two Thai coaches, a very different culture, a very different approach, but they get results with their clients. Like it's very good. There's an Australian woman who's one of the coaches, especially in terms of like training women. Like I've learned a lot from her. Whereas you know I've got X amount of years experience, but I've picked up quite a lot since working there in October, and it's kind of like cool. And some of the things I've actually implemented myself, and I'm like, bloody hell, why have I not done that? Why have I not done that before? And that for me is kind of like, um, you know, again, from my previous role, other coaches looked to me as though like I was the fountain of all knowledge, whereas I was a little bit like, well, I'll tell you what I know, but I'm going to still keep learning this. Why don't you have a look? And then you bounce ideas off people and progress. And I think that for me, I don't know whether it comes from being from like a team environment from rugby or anything like that, or just wanting to like what you said at the start, kind of being a little bit more humble and being like, am I doing this right? Because ultimately it comes down to um how are you going to get the best for the people that you're working with? Because ultimately that's why we do it, to try and help people. And I suppose that kind of goes into, you know, one of the first questions there of, you know, with all this information, you know, people trying to provide actually solutions, but then you've got the other side where it's like, yeah, just do this one thing or take this or do that. Why do you think, or from your experience, people find it hard to kind of I don't know whether distinguish is the right word, but between like nutrition and exercise. Because people seem to do exercise and be like, right, I'm gonna absolutely just beast myself, and that's gonna get me to that stage. Whereas actually there's the other side where it's like, oh, I'm gonna restrict all my food and not do any exercise, and that's gonna help. Why do you think there's kind of like a bit of a battle between nutrition and exercise rather than just seeing it as they should complement each other, if that makes sense?
It does. We're overloaded with information. Like we live in the information age, and there's just so much of it available now. Like I'm 42 years old again, like I had to go on bodybuilding forums when I was a kid, when we still had dial-up internet. And it took 45 minutes to get online, and if your mother got off the phone. Because you know, like we had Arnold's Encyclopedia. We had the old heads at the gym that would show us how to squat, bench, and deadlift. That's how we learned. And we fucked up our shoulders, and we fucked up our backs, and we fucked up our knees, and we did shit the wrong way, but it was trial and error. It was You had to really care enough about the information to go and seek it, and then you had to try doing the thing that they said to do. And then you had to actually have enough evidence and data to say, well, that worked or that didn't work. So there was just much more patience because there was less information available. Now there's a lot of information and no patience,
Yeah.
right? Back then it was no information and nothing but patience, and we had nothing but time to learn. So it's completely flipped upside down. And now people want the fastest, best solution. And we know, you and I both know, there is no best solution. It depends on what is the problem, what are you doing? What are you not doing? What do you know? What do you don't know? And we have to like, if somebody DMs me and they start asking like, how many grams of protein should I eat? I don't fucking know. How much do you weigh? How many times a week do you train? What's your goal? What foods do you like? What foods don't you like? Like, I need to know a lot about you as a person before I give you a blanket recommendation. And the same thing with training. It's like, well, what's the best exercise I can do to grow my glutes? It's like, I don't know. Let me see your limb length. Let me see you squat. Let me see what gym equipment availability you have. How many years have you been training? I need to know all of these bits of information. And that's the problem, is like good professionals scare people away because we ask them a lot of questions and they don't want to have to engage for that amount of time because they want that instant gratification. But if they go to dickhead who's like, well, just do squats. Okay, they got their answer. And they bought their $40 program online and now they think they figured it all out because that person definitively said this thing, but that's the wrong answer in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because the best answer is it depends. If a
yeah,
per- if a fitness or nutrition professional tells you definitively exactly with one sentence that you ask them what you should be doing, they've lied to you and they've done you a disservice. Now, there's obviously certain universal truths. We all know that should be doing some type of strength training. We know that everybody should be drinking water. We know that everybody should be sleeping well. We know that everybody should be walking. We know that everybody should be doing some form of cardio. We know that everybody should be eating produce and lean protein. Okay. Who's doing even that? A tiny percentage of the population. So we have what? I think there's 7 billion people in the world now. I think something around that number. And there's 390 million people in the United States. 80% of Americans don't work out, period, at all. Zero exercise. So, okay, what's 80% of 390 million? I can't figure out. Let's call it 300 million people in the United States don't exercise. So let's leave 90 million people who might be on Instagram, who might be interested in fitness and nutrition information, but they're not going to find my account and your account first. They're going to find the 3 million follower account, the 7 million follow, and most of the time, those influency large accounts are putting out sensational, exciting information that may not be at all appropriate to that very much beginner person who has no fucking clue they don't even know what a protein is. They have no idea what a carb is. They don't know what their lats are. They don't know what a deadlift is. They have never been inside of a gym, but now they're getting optimal dickhead information.
yeah,
And now they're confused because it's like, well, if you don't train at exactly 7 a.m. with this exact workout and then eat this much protein right after the workout, then it was a waste of time. So they don't even start. And that's the battle that you and I are fighting every day. Or they walk into a gym with the goal of fat loss and they get stuck to a personal trainer who now has them just do burpees for 45 minutes and then do fucking bench press because that's what they like to do. They have not been instructed at all about nutrition and its role in fat loss. They have not been instructed at all about non-exercise activity and its role in metabolism. And they're just being murdered for 45 minutes. Then they get hurt. Then they never come back to a gym again.
yeah,
That's the problem that we're fighting. And we don't have a lot of time because people don't trust us. So we have to spend all of this time building trust and building credibility before we can even then start to try to influence people into making a decision in the first place. And then we have to watch them make that decision over and over and over again to then at least gather some data to then see where the disconnect is. So this is a very lengthy process. Like when I sign somebody up, I tell everybody, like, I need to have agreement from you that you're able to do these three things. Can you fill out a check-in form on time when asked to do so? Can you track your food using a food scale and an app? And can you send me videos of you inside the gym doing these exercises? If you can't do those three things, I can't help you
yeah,
because that doesn't give me any data. I can't just guess. I don't know how many calories you're eating. I don't know. Like if I've had so many people send me a program, they're like, does this program look good? I'm like, on paper, sure. Okay, cool. 3 by 10 squat. Great. Awesome. What does your squat look like? Does your squat suck? Do you know how to hip hinge? Is your weight in your heels or in your toes? Are you knee dominant? Are you hip dominant? Do you have any control over your abdomen and how to load your back? Should you even be loading your spine? Like, I have no idea if 3 by 10 is even appropriate. Are you progressively overloading your weights? Oh, there's so many variables to the equation. And think about it, like the gym is a crazy place to me. Somebody can walk into a facility that has all of this relatively complex equipment and they're not even told how to use any of it. It's a public gym. They pay 40 or 50 bucks a month and they just, okay, good luck. See you later. Can you, like, I don't know anything about cars. Can you imagine if if the auto body shops just had a membership on a monthly basis and you could just walk into an auto body shop and then use all of their equipment? They just charge you a monthly. You want to change a tire? Cool. Drive in, get it on a lift, and then use whatever tools you need. But you have to know how to use I don't know the fucking tools to use. I don't.
yeah,
My engine doesn't work. Yeah, we can just go drive in and figure it out.
yeah.
That's
The
what the gym is.
Yeah, somebody else. It's funny you say that. A coach, a coach I used to work with, he used a similar analogy, but it's kind of like same as the doctors. Yeah, yeah, just go in and operate on yourself. Yeah, you'll be fine. Just
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
all good. Yeah, I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good analogy, and everything that you've just said there, I was kind of like nodding along as you speaking, is a really good explanation of kind of where everybody is at. And what I really liked at the start was and I've never really thought about that is I do, especially with the powerlifting and the strength. I think patience is a very underrated. Is that the right word? Underrated value to have. Like things take time.
Very
You've
well.
got to you've got to have that patience. And the analogy of like the information and like less patience. I think, yeah, I've not thought about that. I did. I thought that was good because um yeah, everybody kind of wants that answer right now. And interestingly, I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday this week. We have a lot of people that come over to the gym. We've had some people that stay for like a week, 10 days. We've had some people that have come over for 4 months and have just stayed at the camp, wanting to train, get involved in everything. We sometimes have people that can like pass through Phuket because Southeast Asia, people are going to Vietnam, Cambodia, all those sorts of things.
Sure. Yeah, it's
And a couple,
transient.
yeah, and I had a drop-in session with a guy, and we have an in-body scan. Can I do the in-body scan? Absolutely. Like it's part of the when they pay for a PT session, like they get things included. That's one of the things that you can get included. When people sign up for they're over here for 12 weeks, they can have one every month. So you can see trends, you can see what's going on. We went through the sheet and he was like, "Oh, so what should my ideal weight be?" And when you were saying there about it depends, I always kind of lead with it with, "You're probably not going to like my answer." I went, "I have no idea. I have no idea what your ideal weight is. I have no idea." Like, this was literally the first time I've met this guy. I was like, "I've not even seen you move yet." So I was like, "What we're going to do?" I went, "I can tell you what all these numbers mean and what I would think where we would need to go." Basically, it turned out, you know, majority of a lot of people, he needed to bring his body fat down, be good to nudge his muscle up a little bit, a couple of other things, the standard things. But when it became to specific questions, he was like, "Oh, so what training should I do?" And I was like, again, no idea. I'm going to see you move. Like, I'm going to see you move just body weight. We're then going to add a little bit of loading, see how this feels. If it's not good, we're just going to do something. We're just going to do slightly different. Whereas, yeah, it's funny that you said that, and that was a conversation that I had this week because it's literally like people want that answer. Whereas when you're saying there about no idea, we need more data points. I'm a big believer in, I want to watch you move. I want to have a look at some of your food before working. And like I always say to people, just like eat normally. Usually I want to see people see what the food's like over a weekend, what it's like on a really busy, yeah, what's it like on a busy day at work, like a normal day. Just like give me a little bit. It only has to be a couple of days, and then we can start looking at how we implement from there. Whereas if people are looking, like what you said about what's the best exercise for glutes, all right, just do squats. Why do you think there's maybe an avoidance to try and get those data points and spend a little bit of time just kind of like right finding out what's going to work best for them? For example, like when they come and work with you, they've logged the food, they've looked the training, and then you can then implement solutions rather than I feel as though people know that by just doing these quick fixes that they're just spinning the wheels all the time. Why do you think there is a little bit of an avoidance to spend a little bit of time to actually implement these solutions from the clients that you've worked with or your experience?
Because it feels like effort and it's not natural to them yet. It's not part of their habit system. It's not part of their routine. It feels very, very odd. The only thing I can compare it to would be like if you threw me into a job that I didn't understand, there would be a learning curve. And if there's a financial incentive for me to pick that learning curve up or speed that learning curve up or be a part of it, then sure, I'm going to be engaged in it. Teach me everything I need to know. But there's not a very strong incentive to train. There's not a very strong incentive to eat well. And it's very easy to eat poorly and it's very easy to sit on the couch. And those are very comfortable things to do. So the human nature wants to push us into this very comfortable direction. That's where the human brain wants to be. And we want to relax and we want to just be able to hang out. And it's working out hard sucks sometimes. And eating the same 15 foods every week to some people is very boring. And being told that they should limit their alcohol consumption or limit their, usage of highly processed foods and limit their indulgences. To some people that can feel restrictive. But they also then have to understand that if that all feels restrictive and that feels burdensome and that feels hard, then you may not arrive at the body composition that you talk about wanting. And I'm not saying like you have to live your life perfectly like a saint and like a bodybuilder and eat every meal out of a plastic container and train 3 hours a day. Like, no, I don't do that. I never did that. I'm very flexible, but I've also never been fat. Like I've never been fat and I've never been under muscled. I started lifting weights at 15 years old and I had a little bit of fat at that point, but I lost most of it because I was just active and I was young and it happened by accident. I tell everybody, most of my physique was built from 15 to 22.
Yeah.
And then it got refined from 22 to 42. Like when I got more knowledge about nutrition and I understood how to implement best practices, then yeah, I incrementally every few years got a little bit better. And then obviously TRT helped and um, just understanding how to go through different phases. Like I'm going to go through a fat loss phase. I'm going to go through a muscle building phase. I'm going to go through an endurance and a performance phase. Like people are just like, oh, I'm just going to do this thing and then get this result and I can go back to my old ways.
Yeah.
Nope. Like you have to just keep going now because your old ways are what made you unhappy. And now you have to continue to do the work that made you get the whatever result and you have to hold on to it. And I think when you start to help people understand that this is about your quality of life and not just about your aesthetic, it starts to become more important and it becomes easier to want to do. So now the meal prep gets easier. Saying no to certain invitations to restaurants gets easier. Offering people to go for a coffee instead of a drink gets easier. Going on a hike instead of sitting on the couch on the weekends gets easier because you feel better. Like think about the confidence that you have when you're strong, or you don't have to hide yourself in pictures anymore because you don't have to hide your gut in front of people, or the confidence you have around the opposite sex because now you actually feel your best and you look good versus being that person who's scared to present themselves. Like that's what fitness and nutrition improvements buy you. And it takes time and it depends on where you're starting from. If you're starting from 35% body fat, you've got a long road ahead of you if you're starting as a woman. If you're starting from 22% body fat as a woman, not as long of a road, but a lot more precision required. Because at 22% body fat, you probably already have some really good habits. At 35% body fat, probably not very good habits, right? If you're a man who's 25% body fat, probably pretty shitty habits. But if you're a man who's 15% body fat, well, now we can't just guess and hope. Now we have to have really good systems and routines in place, and we have to have a lot more precision and data to get you from 15 to let's say that guy who's 15% body fat wants visible abs. Well, it's no longer we can just wing it. We now have to have systems. We now have to track food. We now have to have precise phases of loss and gain and maintenance to get you to that place because then once you're there, you have all the requisite skill sets to keep it.
Yeah. A couple of things that you touched on there, and again, I agree with you. And as well, going back to the guy that I was chatting with the body fat percentage on the in body. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, and maybe a little bit tangent. I think people use these numbers, but then they'll jump on at different times, and then it'll fluctuate and be all over the
Oh,
place.
the in body. Yeah. Well, the in body
Yeah,
also doesn't know how to tell between water and stomach contents and everything else. And I
yeah,
mean, even the DEXA scan is now starting to become less reliable because it doesn't understand the differences in lean mass and people that are taking GLP-1 drugs that are showing up as losing all this lean mass. It's not actually lean mass loss. It's glycogen loss. It's water loss. It's stomach content decrease. So we can't put all of this faith and stock into these numbers. Now, what a DEXA scan is very good at is bone density. Cool. InBody doesn't do bone density. InBody only does bioelectrical impedance, which we know can be somewhere between 25 to 40% inaccurate.
mm,
Now, try to standardize that number with somebody who doesn't even do the basics well. So, like, even all the wearables and all the technology that we have available, what is the mirror not showing you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I all I have to do is when I have somebody sign up with me, I tell them to send me a picture of what they look like.
Yeah.
Body composition, send me a picture of yourself in a bathing suit so I can see where your body fat is. Can I see any muscle mass? Okay, cool. I can visibly tell you you're probably 30% body fat. You're probably 18. Like it's not hard. I've been doing this for 17 years. You know how like you go to the circus and there's the guy that can tell your weight?
Yeah.
I can tell you how much you weigh and what your body fat percentage is just by looking at you because that's what experience has shown me. I don't need all these tools and all these gadgets. Just show me a picture. I can tell you your calorie requirement right off the bat. For fat loss, I can tell you your calorie requirements for maintenance and muscle gain. But it's because I have nothing to sell you because then I'm also going to tell you you have all this work to do.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's no magic. Like a lot of gyms, and this is not a knock on your gym. This is just how the gym model works. There's the gym that I go to here in California. They have an in-body scan as part of their sales tactic. We're going to do this body fat assessment.
Yeah.
I can tell you just by looking at you that you have no muscle mass and you have an abundance of body fat. Did you need a machine to tell you that, or could we just looked at a picture? So what I'm going to tell you to do is your first problem to solve is let's get body fat down as low as possible in the next 4 to 6 weeks because that's probably as long as you'll be able to diet for. You won't have any more willpower after that. So after that point, we're going to cut fat loss off and we're going to go directly into performance enhancement and muscle gain. And we're going to do that for 10, 12 weeks. And then once you've regained some confidence and willpower and built some routines and habits, then we'll go back to fat loss and we'll see if we can maybe stretch it for 6 to 8 weeks because
Yeah.
there's still probably an abundance of body fat. And we're going to keep playing that game over and over again, back and forth until we get you to the ideal body composition. And then it's your responsibility to maintain it. See you
Yeah.
later. Do you have everything you need?
Yeah.
That's in a nutshell. I just solved your fat loss problem globally.
Yeah. With the in-body, I always say, or anything like that, it's a ballpark. But yeah, I
Ballpark.
completely
Yeah.
agree. If people are I remember there's one consultation that I did back in the UK, which sticks in my mind. And he was a really really big guy. I think he started off weighing maybe like 160 kilos. Like
Okay.
he
It's
needed to
yeah.
essentially just change his life. And in the assessment that we'd put together, obviously, I said before we'd have a look at his movement, and obviously the first bit is like his weight. I didn't even put him on the scales because like he knows he's
Why?
overweight.
Yeah,
I know
why?
he's overweight. And a key thing that you said there in terms of like willpower and confidence, um, that would just knock his confidence. Because actually, when I looked at the scales actually only went up to like 150. So straight away, do you know what I mean? Like it comes up and says error. That's gonna be the worst thing. And it's interesting because essentially it's a fitness retreat. Don't get me wrong, there are locals and expats that come and train at the gym. But I always say to people like essentially these 4 weeks, 12 weeks that you're going to be living here for, it isn't really the real world. They get all the food cooked for them. The training maybe like 3, 4 times a week. Sorry, not 3, 4 times a week. Sometimes people are doing 3 or 4 sessions a day. I think that's
Wow.
a little bit overkill. Because then on the flip side, when we're talking about how the fitness industry work, there's that mentality of I've paid for all these classes. I need to get my money's worth. Whereas like sometimes, and we've had a conversation about this as a coaching team, be like, just do maybe like one or two, because we've got plenty of like cardio-ish sessions, we've got plenty of strength sessions. Sometimes people are doing PT, like you don't more isn't always better. But the thing is, when you said there about those habits and skills, like another thing that you said there was, are they feeling better? All right, are you feeling better because you're actually, training an adequate amount? Like when you go back to the real world, you might have to train before, after work, at your lunchtime. Like you're not going to be able to do that. But it's like, all right, cool. Go down to the beach and go for a walk. Are
Yeah.
you able to get your steps in? Cool. Do you reckon that's a skill you can take back home with you? All right. What about food? Oh, okay. So you're actually eating like protein and veggies. You're drinking lots of water. There's plenty of fruit available. Is that a skill that you can take with you away rather than? And I've had conversations with people coming in and wanting to do those 3, 4 classes a day. The weight's absolutely plummeting, and then they go back to the real world, and it's like, fucking hell, why is my weight
Yeah.
going back up again? It's like, well, you can't sustain that. So, in terms of like what we've spoken about there, is it, uh, from all those data points, is it trying to show them and trying to get them to realize, okay, these are the skills that I need, and making it more um incorporated into their life so that they can be like, okay, so if I do this, I feel like this, rather than if I do this, I'll lose X amount of weight. If I do this, I'll burn this amount of calories. Is that kind of the solution to helping people stick with this long term, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't measure. And, if you're not wearing a wrist wearable, you don't really know how many steps you're taking. If you're not tracking your food, you don't really know how many calories you're eating. If you don't track your workouts to some degree, you probably don't know if you're making any progress. Now, the more experienced you get and the longer you do this, the less information you need to track because you probably already know all these things to some certainty. I mean, I still track my food because I like numbers. It's not tedious to me. I have two scales on my counter. I eat very simply. I even track my meals out because now you can use Chat GPT to do it. It's so
Yeah.
simple. So now you can go to a restaurant, take a picture of your food, prompt all of the menu items that you ate into ChatGPT and say, give me approximately how many calories and macros I ate. It'll give you an overestimate. You plug that into your food tracking app, and now you have some idea, which is great because now we have information. So what are you going to do with that information? Does that information bother you? Are you tired of tracking that information? Do you need the information for any specific reason? People obsess about the wrong things. Like I think like HRV for the normal person doesn't really matter, but steps do. Do I think everybody has to track their food? Not forever, but for some period of time. If you want to lose fat, how are you going to be able to lose fat? Because to me, you have three options. You can either pick a fad diet, you can get put on a meal plan, or you can track your food, or you can take GLPs, obviously. GLPs, I'm going to take that off the table because not everybody qualifies for them. And that needs to be a conversation with your medical provider. But do you want to diet and remove foods? Or do you want to be able to eat all the foods you want just in smaller portions? Do you want to be put on a restrictive meal plan that you're not going to be able to sustain on your own? And you have to be told how to eat versus taught how to eat? I don't think that's a good option. So door number three for me, the food tracking part is what gives you the most amount of freedom and gives you the most amount of autonomy and flexibility. By having all this information, it's now on the individual to understand, is all of this stuff making sense? Am I starting to get into a direction that's better? Do I feel better when I eat like this or I eat this many calories? How do I feel the next day? If I sit on my ass all day or get really poor sleep, how do I feel the next day? They can start to associate their quality of life to these numerical target-based interventions. And then they can start to understand that when I do these things, these are the outcomes. When I don't do these things, these are the outcomes. So it empowers people to start to make more individually based autonomous choices. And that's the ultimate goal for all of us, I think, is to get our clients from a place of reliance to a place of independence because I don't want them to be relying on me forever. The only reason why I want somebody to stay with me long term is purely for the accountability and the adjustments that I can make. They like being part of the community. They like having the weekly touch points. They like having the daily text messages. They like being around other fitness minded people because it's a very small community. Like people that go to a gym for a reason because there's a culture and a community there. That's why CrossFit did so well. That's why group fitness does so well because there's people cheering you on and it's exciting and there's a dopamine hit and there's sweat equity. So I'm all for it. Like I used to be very anti group fitness. I used to be anti CrossFit. Now it's like if it just gets you in the door and it gets you started, I don't give a shit what you do.
Yeah.
Do I think that's going to be the best vehicle for fat loss? No. But is it better than you sitting on the couch and debating whether or not you should move? Yes, it's absolutely better. So to me, when we're living in a time where most people are not exercising and most people are eating like shit, anything they do in the right direction to me is already a positive. So I'm always going to be in favor of something is better than nothing. And then as you start to mature and grow on your journey, then we can start to pave specific paths.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that thing there of just getting people in through the door, you said right at the start, there's kind of like I'm gonna have to do, I feel like I need to say like the dark side and the light side then. I just had like Star Wars things going through my mind then. But like once they're through the door, then you can start actually, helping them and kind of showing, look, we don't really need to do that and have those conversations a little bit more, as opposed to, if they're in that position where they're still umming and ahhing about what to do, they
Right.
might end up, out of the five things that they try, four of them might be those things where, they've maybe lost weight, but they feel awful for it because they're only eating chicken and lettuce. Like I'm a big fan of, yes, you can lose weight, but you want to be like food's theirs to be enjoyed. Like
Yep.
I'm a big foodie. The Thai food, absolutely awesome. I'm gonna try
Oh
that.
God, it's
Could I
got to be
have
so
it?
good.
Could I have it all the time? Like,
No.
I swear to God, the crispy belly pork over here, if I ate that all the time, like there's no way I
No.
would be doing as much exercise as I am. But, there's a case of like, all right, cool, I'll still have this, and this, and again, finding solutions from there. So, yeah, quite a lot of helpful, useful content and solutions in there. The last question that I like to ask Aaron for everyone listening, what would be your take home points or words of wisdom from what we've chatted about today?
Respect your starting point. Whether you're a coach that's listening to this and you're trying to break and make it into the fitness industry, understand what you don't know and be very, very humble about it. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And the same thing goes for the end users of, if you're trying to get into being a healthier lifestyle, eating better, training, whatever, for those people, the more sensational it sounds and the more it promises you, the more unrealistic it probably is. So reasonable information. And the same thing for coaches. Like the people that you see that are making all this money, are they really making that kind of money? Or are they just showing you that they're making that kind of money? So all that glitters is not gold. So just take everything with a grain of salt because what social media is showing you is the best case scenario. They're showing you the highlight reel of their life. They're not showing you the work that it took to get there. They're not showing you the days that they had to spend fighting for their life. They're not saying all the sacrifices. That doesn't get talked about. So what you're seeing is the highlight reel. And if you understand that, then you understand that it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's not left, it's not right. It's probably some reasonable in the middle. And you're going to have to probably try things before you understand whether or not they work for you or they do. And that goes for coaches as well as end users. And if you have questions, ask people that you trust. Don't be afraid, like, don't try to always figure it out yourself because there's some things that you just don't know and other people do. Like, I don't know anything about taxes. I'm not going to keep trying to use Chat GPT or use AI to figure out my own taxes because that's going to cost me a ton of money. I'm just going to pay somebody that knows what they're doing that I can trust that's going to show me how to do this stuff or tell or do it for me. I would rather do that. Now, obviously, with your body, you should have a little bit more control than that. So you should learn how your body works, how it digests food, how it moves. Like I think you should have some control over it, but at least ask a professional because our jobs exist for a reason. So use us. Like we've got the education, we want to help, we're trying to give you the best price that's available. So use us. And for coaches, if you're trying to become a better coach, learn from people that are better than you are. Don't think that you have it all figured out. Your one certification is not nearly enough to help all the people that you want to help. And promise you, it's going to take you way longer than you think to make your first $10,000 month.
Yeah, yeah. Some really good, yeah, loads of words of wisdom and take on points there. Yeah, I think that's good. I think, it's that thing of people are, when you've said there, asking for help, whether it be a coach or a client, um, they want help, but they're looking for the thing that's going to help them the quickest. Whereas actually, I use this analogy of I'm not sure whether or you might have something similar in the US, but in the UK we have like Rustler's burgers, which like you put in the microwave and it takes like 2 minutes to make a burger.
Ah,
Whereas like I'm a big fan of a burger, whereas like an actual properly cooked burger, toasted bread buns, you know what I mean? Like it takes a little bit longer, but the satisfaction that you get from it is way better rather
it's
than a
worth it.
Rustler's burger. It scratches that itch of having a burger, but it's always soggy. The cheese, it gets always burnt too much. Like, yeah, it's not worth it for the small amount of effort you've put in. Like that's the reward that you get. we've made burgers here. The amount of effort that I put in, the reward from it, I'm like, yeah,
Worth it. Yeah.
I wish I'd have it about 10 of these. These are really good. Um, Thanks a lot, Aaron, for taking the time to jump on. Really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. If anyone has any questions about what we've spoken about today, want to reach out to you, see the content that you share, where could people find you or reach out to you?
Yeah, if people are looking for fitness and nutrition information and they're just pedestrian end users, they're not fitness professionals, just go to 4 weeks to the beach, the number 4 weeks, the number two, the beach. If you are a fitness professional and you're looking for more community and more education, then go to at real.coaches.summit. That's the event that I host, and you'll be connected to a lot of other people through that. But you have a good resource here in Steve. Use him. Yeah, I mean, it's good that he brings other people on, and I think that's what we do on our podcast also. But at some point, like if you're on the fence, if you're thinking like I'm gonna just keep trying to figure this out on my own, don't. It's gonna cost you more time and more money to not hire Steven. But if you hire Steven, it's gonna be able to circumvent the process and speed up the potential for results, and you're gonna get somebody who actually cares about you. So use the guy. He's right in front of you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, appreciate that. Appreciate you taking the time to jump on. And yeah, I think, like what we've said throughout this, having conversations, trying to find those solutions from there. That's why, I wanted to speak to yourself, because there is a lot of useful information out there. There's a lot of people trying to like provide solutions. And I just do think that like once you filter through that noise a little bit, like there is actually people there that's going to help. Sometimes the person that shouts the loudest isn't necessarily always given the right information. Sometimes that is the case. Sometimes that is the case, but more often than not, I think you've just got to like, yeah, dig a little bit deeper. So yeah, really, really enjoyed this conversation today. Um,
Thank you, man. If I
Thanks a
come to
lot to
Thailand, I'll come find you.
absolutely. I'll be here. Don't worry. Thanks a lot to everyone listening, and I will see you all at the next episode.